Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast. We are here 1 year later to discuss our second time at the Indie Street Film Festival in Red Bank, New Jersey. It was a different format of the festival this year. It took place in August instead of September, and it was a longer festival. It was 7 days. We only unfortunately got to cover a few days, but there's a lot of films that we want to discuss with you guys, so we're going to do that in this episode right now. I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined by Liz Seiko.
Hi, everybody.
As well as Vinny Albano.
Hello, hello.
So lots to talk about. I'm just going to go in order of the festival from the order when we start to see things.
Let's do it.
The festival did run from August 19th until August 25th. It was a full 7 days, and there were so many different things. And this is what I love about Indie Street is they have different events in terms of different features. They have different short films, but they also have these great events at local restaurants and breweries and all this stuff in Red Bank, New Jersey, which is where the film festival took place. If you guys remember, last year we covered it. I got to sit down with Matthew Modine. We got to see I Like Movies. What were some of the other things we saw? It's off the top of my head. I'm trying to think. We saw that film with Terrence Howard and Dolph Lundgren.
Showdown
at the Grand.
Yes.
I believe it was called. I feel like there was another feature that we saw. I don't remember.
There
was a lot. I mean,
shorts.
Yeah, they do a lot of shorts. They do a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get to the festival until August 22nd. And I went and saw a documentary feature called Happy Clothes, a film about Patricia Field. Vinny and Liz unfortunately couldn't make the festival or that day of the festival. But this was a film documenting and highlighting this costume designer who most famously had done Sex and the City on HBO.
Oh my God.
Had done The Devil Wears Prada, had done Ugly Betty. Legendary and iconic costume designer. She was nominated for an Academy Award for Devil Wears Prada.
I'm
I'm
upset right now that I didn't.
I thought you knew this.
I
know I texted you and I was like, I feel like you'd really like this.
Yeah, but I didn't do like who she actually was and what she's worked on. So I'm having FOMO right now.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. But the film will be released wide at the end of September.
Amazing.
And it's a really great doc, just breaking down how she subverted fashion. I think you would really like it too, because I know, Vinny, you're super into fashion. But she had this huge store called Patricia Fields in the city for a very long time. And like RuPaul started working in her store. That's how iconic her image and her influence in fashion was. And I think the first thing she was asked to work on was Sex and the City. It was one of the first big things that she did. And there's a lot of interviews with people that have been in her film and television shows. She also does Emily in Paris. She did the first 2 seasons of Emily in Paris, which I know you also watch, Liz. Kim Cattrall is in this doc. Lily Collins, Sarah Jessica Parker, Darren Star, who created Emily in Paris and Sex and the City, Vanessa Williams. So this does a really good job. The runtime was perfect for a doc. It's like an hour 40 minutes. Just getting to learn so much about Patricia Field and her influence in fashion on screen, I thought was incredible. And Devil Wears Prada is one of those films that it's defined by the costumes and the fashion. So highly recommend Happy Clothes, a film about Patricia Field, which I saw the first day. I don't know if you have any comments on it. You didn't see it.
No, I'm just really excited to watch it now.
Yeah.
I wonder, do you know what platform it's coming out on?
I don't know. I don't know if it's probably going to go to theaters first.
I can do some digging.
But you can go ahead and keep doing that. Michael Selditch did direct it. Also, Naps, our former film teacher's sister, has a cameo in it, which is cool. September 20th is the release date. They have she had worked with Basquiat, which was crazy. Also Keith Haring, back in the 80s and 90s. It was crazy. It's a really great documentary. I highly recommend it to anybody, especially if you love fashion. You would love hearing her story. And she has this bright red hair and these big thick rimmed glasses, and she's always smoking cigarettes. She's just a type of woman that I want to hang out with. So it was great. It was great to be a fly on the wall for that. The next day on Friday is when Vinny and I got to go to the festival. Vinny got there a little earlier than me, and you saw the doc shorts. I know there was obviously a bunch in there. Is there one that sticks out to you, Vinny, that you wanted to maybe highlight a little bit in terms of the documentary shorts that played on Friday, August 23rd at the festival?
Yeah, I have a handful actually written down
Okay, cool.
here.
Nice.
First off, there was a couple, but American Seams is a documentary short about following 3 women from around America and their relationship with knitting and that kind of medium and that art. It's nothing like, it's not this like huge expansive documentary or anything, but it's honestly one of the most beautiful looking documentaries I've ever seen. Like,
Nice.
just how they shot this, and it's just gorgeous to look at, and it's so just relaxing of a documentary. I don't know, something about hearing these women's stories and watching them as they like knit these quilts and stuff is so relaxing, and there's such a beauty to it, especially exemplified by the visuals. However, my favorite documentary of these shorts was Crush the Wrestler, which was one of the most fascinating documentary shorts I've ever seen.
And the director was there.
Yes,
correct?
yeah, he was there. The director's name is Alex Megaro. And Crush the Wrestler is basically about interview with a man who goes by this alter ego, Crush the Wrestler, and he makes fetish wrestling videos. And it is one of the most...
Liz's mouth is agape right now. She was not expecting.
I was not ready for that.
Yeah.
On what platform are we talking
Liz goes,
about?
I would like to watch some of these.
So I actually
OnlyFans are we talking about, or like?
He might have an OnlyFans. I'm not
Wow.
sure, but I know he
Wow.
does have a private website where people can buy his DVDs, or they say in the documentary how he has like a personalized request, so you can pay a certain amount of money of saying like, hey, I want to see this in the video, and he'll do it. But it is so fascinating because he is such a articulated man. He's such a kind person. He's such a just well thought out, and just, such a it's, I don't know, it gives such perspective. And the director Alex even mentioned in his Q&A afterwards of like, it's so easy to make a film like this and be like, oh, look at this yucky, right? But no, like he goes about it and treats it in a way of like, it's almost an art form in a sense, and he treats it in a very mature way, and I really respected that. And I found everyone involved in the documentary so fascinating. And then the last short documentary that I would like to mention, which is an archival documentary. It's just kind of a bunch of news clips and whatnot cut together, but it's Balloon Boy.
Do you remember this, Liz?
No, I don't.
I remember talking to Vinny about this. I really wanted to see this. Unfortunately, I missed it, but this happened. I'll let you discuss it, but it was this massive story on the news. Probably, so I'm trying to think. I mean, how old were you, Vinny?
It says October
when this came
15th,
out?
2009.
Yeah, I was really young.
You were really young.
Yeah.
I was like a freshman in high school, maybe, when this came out.
I'm going back right now.
I'm going back right now.
Well,
All right,
anyways,
Vinny,
Keith,
go
tell us
ahead,
about
go
it. Tell us about
Yeah,
it.
so essentially, it's an archival documentary about this real family of inventors, and they made this like balloon UFO, and then the UFO, it was supposed to be tethered down, but then it wasn't tethered down. It went in the air, and it was this huge thing of like, all these rescue workers being involved, police, fire, everyone, because the son of this family was supposedly in the balloon, and he was like
6 years old.
yeah, and he was in the air flying for hours, like hitting the clouds in this UFO balloon.
What?
Yeah.
But there's some wacky twists and turns in this documentary. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it really shows you kind of this dark morality behind the family involved.
Was he actually in the balloon?
I like that.
Do you
Well,
know?
I don't know. because I didn't know there was twists and turns.
Do you know?
No, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it, because this is probably going to be made available for people eventually, and they should check it out if you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But no, I also love the cool thing with Indie Street is that they do such a great job of selecting a different variety of the types of things that we see across the weekend, and just that day in general. So you have the documentary shorts that Vinny got to see. They had a rooftop discussion afterwards dealing with AI and filmmaking. And then Vinny and I saw two docs, two completely different documentaries later that night that were features. The first one was called Eternal You, which was terrifying. And Vinny defined it, and I said it in my mini review that's going to get posted on our Instagram. But basically, it's like a real-life episode of Black Mirror. And it's just dealing with the impact that AI has in our life and in our world. But it focuses heavily in this particular documentary on communicating with the deceased. And it's fascinating. It's like truly haunting. Like there's so much in this that is it just feels so icky. Like I can't even think of a better word for it. It just makes you feel like I can't believe that there are people that want to experience this because it's so creepy. One of the things was like an AI text-based service where they take like their archival text messages and they're able to like basically recreate their cadence. And
so you can feel like you're texting the person.
Yeah, and both like the one gentleman, I think his name was Josh in the beginning, that's talking to his ex-girlfriend or ex-wife that had passed away. He like would chat for hours with this AI, and he's like, I feel like she's with me again, and it was just like, this is crazy. Then they showed the one in South Korea, right?
Yeah, South Korea.
Oh my god, where they developed this crazy VR, and they shot it for like a reality TV show, where they have this woman lost her young daughter, unfortunately, and she goes into this virtual reality setting. She has gloves on, she has the glasses on, and there's like a real avatar of her daughter. And she's like hysterical, and it's like, it's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's really, really crazy.
It's like the movie Her, but like actually happening.
But it's also, it's taken like, it takes a whole different, like Her, at least it's still, Her is like just a voice, but so much of this is like reincarnating these people in a digital sense.
Are they paying for this? Are they paying, or is it just like all
the text-based service was a payment service.
Yeah, I'd actually like to comment on that.
Yeah,
because I think what I found most fascinating about this documentary was payment is involved in all of these services and everything involved, and it shows a real perspective on this capitalist gain. And really shows you that the people behind these, like, it's almost like every guy that is involved, like all these,
tech bros,
yeah, they have such two-face, right? And they're saying they want to help, but it's so obvious that this is for their own capitalist gain, and I think it has a great commentary on just capitalism exploing the people,
That's what I was
and the emotions of them. And they do touch a lot on that in the documentary. They even have a section in the documentary where there's this other service where they're talking about how like Microsoft, like he goes to like a tech convention, they show like footage, and he's like talking about this product with a bunch of investors and all this stuff. And he's like, after our presentation, like Microsoft is bidding, Disney is bidding. And it's just like crazy because it totally shows that they want to give people experiences. But like you said, Vinny, it's all for the gain of money and exposure and being ahead in the technological age. So it's creepy. It's really crazy.
I mean, it sounds like they did a good job though on the documentary, like giving enough and like, I guess not giving their full opinion, but like leading you a certain way and not just like leaving you hanging.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it definitely wraps up and it gives you that closure, but at the same time, the fear of what's on the horizon. Yeah, it is. It's like legit terror. Hans Block and Moritz Riesewieck. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Sorry, Moritz, if I didn't. Hard names to pronounce, but they directed the project. And then after that, I don't want to speak for Vinny. I loved. And I really enjoyed a lot, basically everything I saw this year. But this was my favorite of the films.
Same here, actually. Yeah.
We saw Songs from the Hole,
okay.
Which was part documentary, part visual album, directed by, shout out, Contessa Gayles, Montclair. Love that. We love the Jersey native. She was there, and we're hoping to have her on the podcast at some point in the future. But this story will take your insides and rip them out and expose them to feel every possible emotion. And it's a roller coaster, and there's so much here. I highly recommend every single human being in the world seeing this when it finally comes on digital. So I don't want to give too much away because there's so much in this that I think can speak to anybody. Vinny and I were basically both in tears. And it's this story about this man named James JJ88 Jacobs. And JJ88 is his rapper name. And at 15 years old, he murders somebody. And he gets placed in prison. 3 days after he murders somebody, his brother is murdered. And his brother's 20, I think, when he's 15.
Yeah.
And it deals with the time that James is in prison and his fight to get out on good behavior and get exonerated from the penal system. And during his time there, he turns to art and he turns to music to help him through that. And when he's discussing these things through conversations with Contessa, it sort of interweaves this narrative element that's the visual album, where you're getting actors portraying him at different ages. You're getting animation with his own original composition and music. It feels like something like the Childish Gambino would put together, but it was so powerful.
Yeah.
And there's so many moments where you're just, it's heartbreaking because he's this guy that is really genuinely trying everything that he can and doing good in prison and staying out of trouble and all these things. And it's a powerful journey to get to where the movie ends up at the end. Like I said, I don't want to spoil anything.
No, don't spoil it.
But
I mean, that's hard in itself to have it be a documentary and then also like music videos. How was the editing for you guys? Did you feel like it was like how did the transitions go between doc and music?
Yeah, I thought it was immaculate. I think that, I mean, I'll just, because I wrote this brief little review here, I'll just read this out loud. I said, heartfelt, impactful, and full of perspective. A film of forgiveness, accountability, faith, redemption, and so much more. The unique presentation between musical visual novel and regular documentary style ties this incredible story together. And kind of piggybacking off of that question, is that it does flow so seamlessly because they have actors reenacting his story in prison and you know, playing him and other people involved such as his brother, but it just, I can't even describe it. It is really to answer your question simply, yes, it is just greatly done.
I think we both felt like it was a genuinely life-changing experience getting to see this film and them highlighting it in industry. I know the founder, Jay Webb, had said that this was probably his favorite of the features this year. And the reception was incredible.
Yeah.
And Contessa Gayles had previously worked on another documentary for CNN that had to deal with prison system called The Feminist on Cell Block Y. And that was where she met the co-producer, Richie Reseda, who was in prison. He later was released, and that's how she ended up meeting James. So
nice.
It was a really incredible story. So many emotions. It's so innovative. And it just feels like you're on this incredible journey with them every step of the way. And I don't know how else to explain it. Songs from the Hole was just like, in the 2 years we've been at the festival, it's probably my favorite feature that I've seen. So it was really amazing. Did you have anything else?
No, it's just breathtaking, honestly. It's like, and what's crazy is, you know, this is a real story, and it's not like this isn't like a Tiger King, and this is not like a huge, but it's really showing for people who do not have the perspective of people they know who've been in the prison system, or if they've been in the prison system themselves, or just grown around street culture. It's it tells perspective on that, and I think there's something really breathtaking and really beautiful about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good way to wrap it up, Vinny. So that was Friday, and then our last day at the festival was Saturday.
Yes.
And Liz also came that day, so now Liz gets to talk a little bit. First thing we saw was the New Jersey short films, which you unfortunately missed, but you did check out one of them after we had discussed it. And then later on, there were some narrative features that we also checked out, and we got to talk to some filmmakers and some cast members, so that was really cool. But my favorite of the New Jersey shorts was a film that you did happen to check out afterwards. So, because you haven't had a chance to talk very much, I am curious. And it won Best New Jersey Short at the festival. It is Daniel Rashid's Puppy Love, which was such a cute and fun movie.
It was so cute. It's also honestly just like a great short because it's funny, it's to the point, and the ending is a great twist that you're not really expecting. Which I think, like, if you can get all of that in a short and have a dog that's incredibly cute and just like in every shot possible, of course you have a winner. What do you mean?
This is why I knew you would love it, because I know you're also such a dog lover. For someone who's never, unfortunately, had the blessing of having a dog, but loving every single experience they have with the dog,
it made you want to get a dog.
It was just the most perfect encapsulation of what that feels like to be surrounded by an animal that you just unconditionally want to give all your love and attention to. I want to give a shout out to the two lead performers in the short because I thought they were great. Elizabeth Valenti and Alfred Bardwell Evans, I thought played off each other so well in such an awkward way. Elizabeth Valenti, also shout out, she's a Central Jersey native, so we love that. But it was just so fun, and I also thought it was great how they positioned it in the shorts lineup and having it close with that, because
did it?
It was such a feel good, like, and not that some of the other shorts weren't also feel good, but it just was like probably the funniest of all of them, and I just really enjoyed it. I don't know if you had anything else to say about Puppy Love, or if we want to talk about some of the other ones.
Oh, not really. It's funny. It's great. It's thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah. 100%.
What were some of the other ones that stood out to you guys?
Vinny, what was one that stood out to you?
For the New Jersey films, let me double check my list really quick.
So So another one that, and it's foreign language for some of it. I don't know if it's Alien or Alien. Do you know?
Oh yes.
Is it Alien?
I want to talk about the Alien.
Is it called Alien? Because there's a space.
So I've been pronouncing it Alien due to the subject matter of the film. Okay, but
I'm not sure. You might be right.
That was my favorite short, though.
Yes, it was fantastic. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I would love to talk about it, actually. Just quickly, I wrote a little thing, and this is a topic I am very passionate about, and I'm glad this film is able to shed perspective to those who are unaware of what's really going on within our country. I thought this to be very well done, intense, and one of my favorites of the festival. This film is about it showcases the unethical practices of ICE in the United States and how following a family involved within this. And it's intense. It's really intense. And it's heartbreaking because just the reality of the situation. So it's... Yeah, I don't want to say too much. I want people to go out there and experience the film. And also all the lead performers. I don't have their names with me, but the lead performers were so good.
Yeah, it was a brilliant piece of filmmaking. I feel like it was being able to, because obviously you want to touch when you're handling such serious subject matter. You want it to come across in the most authentic way possible, and I'm sitting there with like a painful feeling in my chest after watching that short based on what you see play out. But it's our reality, and I agree with you, Vinny. I thought it was really great. I'm gonna try to look up who the actors were so we can give them a shout out. But while I'm doing that, Don't Pick Up was another one that I liked, with Keith David and Catherine Erb, and Jeremiah Kipp was the director. He was there, as well as the screenwriter Susanna Nolan. I'm pretty sure it was filmed in Manasquan too, like in the
Oh.
bookstore. But it was a cute little romantic, but dealing with the reality of what people go through and what we might not see on an everyday basis. I also just think Keith David can like do no wrong. He's got like such an amazing and imposing voice, but like seeing him play a softer character was nice to see.
Yeah.
But was there any other shorts that come off the top of your head, Vinny? Because I don't know.
Not particularly. I just really wanted to talk about Alien.
Okay.
And Puppy Love, of course.
And Puppy Love.
And
Yeah.
Puppy Love. Alien. Here we go. Okay, I found it. David Cutler-Cruz and Sam Cutler-Cruz are the writers and directors, and our lead performers in this short are it says because there's 41 cast members. IMDb. Why are they not popping up? They're not listed on IMDb. Victoria Rader-Manis. Wait. Okay, so Victoria Rader-Manis is the lead female in the project. Coraline Rivera is the young girl. The male performer, William Martinez. So those shout out to all those performers. They're great in Alien. And the short as a whole was really great. That started our day at 3:30, and then we finally all got to come together to see a film, and we got to see Guacamole yesterday. It's a very funny title for a very unique sci-fi romance film that was written by Hudson Phillips, directed by Jordan Noel. They were both at the festival. Shout out to them. We've been in contact with them. We're going to have them on the podcast later this year. We can't wait to discuss this film with them. It stars Sophie Edwards, Randy Havens, Adentipo, Thomas, Megan McFarland, Charity Cervantes, and Bryce Anthony Heller. It was a very unique film.
Yeah.
And Liz, I don't know if you want to discuss it first, and we can discuss the film as a whole because we all got to see it.
Yeah, this film definitely covers a lot of topics. It's part sci-fi, part romance, like you mentioned, DJ. And it starts off with a woman that kind of goes into an experiment to look back and revisit her memories. And then it just takes the story from there of looking back on her past like relationship, and then also throws in the questions of what makes memories, what makes the past, and over time you start to learn that sometimes the past is better in the past and you have to live in the future. I think it's a really incredible like feature that they're able to cover this many topics and keep the runtime at like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And the relationship is definitely the main focus, I would say. Not as much as the tech aspect, which I don't mind, because at first thought the concept is very much like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But that film, I think, focuses more on the tech, while this one is much more about the relationship and the overall scope of it.
Yeah, I thought that the chemistry between the two leads is what elevated the movie for me. I thought Randy Havens and Sophie Edwards, from the beginning, when you start to see what their first date was like and how awkward it is, and how Randy's character of Franklin is chasing this dream and he's still embarrassed by his dream and he's a full-time barista. Like, there's also a lot of really great pop culture references in this that I think also add to the reality and made it feel very grounded and real and authentic in their relationship.
It was funny.
Very funny. And Jordan talked about it after the film that with some of it, it was just really great improv moments between the two lead actors, which I love, because it meant that they just felt so comfortable with one another during the filming process that they were able to do that and tell their love story in a specific way. It reminded me of one of my favorite romantic films ever, which is About Time, that also deals with this time loop, time travel sort of element to it, which you see in this film. It is going to be released digitally in November, so definitely keep your eye out for it. But Vinny, what were your overall thoughts of Guacamole yesterday's?
Yeah, I thought the film to be very mature, and I was captivated all throughout the runtime. I really enjoyed Guacamole yesterday's. I just like all the dialogue and every conversation. Like, I felt very captivated. I felt very, when there was a certain warmth to the relationship, when the filmmakers wanted there to be warmth, which I thought just nailed it for me. And when the filmmakers subtract that warmth and is now like, hey, this is the cold moments of the relationship, you felt that coldness.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate it. I just like love, I don't know, I just everything of how they interact with each other just felt so I don't know if peaceful would be the right word to say, but I just enjoyed the writing a lot. That was probably my favorite aspect. I also like, as someone who wants to illustrate comic books one day, the main character is a comic book illustrator, and I thought it was very, very cool getting to see her do her paneling and like lettering and stuff. So I was like, yeah.
Having the artist twinge on it definitely helped with him trying to be a stand-up comic and, and Ames being a comic book artist. One of the other things, and I said this to Jordan and Hudson after the film, we were lucky enough to talk to them for a little bit, but for someone who's dealt with mental health struggles in their own life, I felt that it portrayed the lowest of the low in a way that a lot of films are afraid to do it, because it feels like it's one of the lead characters deals with this constant state of nothingness, this constant state of like just laying in bed and not being able to get out of bed. And that's something that like has been applicable to my life in the past, and it's something that I know a lot of people have dealt with in their life. And I thought that was the part that spoke the best to me, in terms of, even though you have this sci-fi element, there's so much realness in the relationship between the two characters and their own individual lives, what they're dealing with. And I appreciated the way that we would see both sides of the conversations too. We would see the side in which they're both so happy and they love just joking with one another, and that those moments of levity, versus the moments of fear and the reality setting in, whether it has to do with marriage, whether it has to do with kids, whether it has to do with your own identity. So this film spoke to me tremendously, and I absolutely loved it.
One thing I really love too is that they didn't make one of them the antagonist. They kind of made them both equally at fault, and also like that you're rooting for them both, whether it's together or not. And then I also want to give a shout out to the directing of it, that I always appreciate when there are specific shots for a reason, because the whole time something that they ended up doing, and they said in the talk back after, was that they purposely had Michelle was the lead character, right? Or actress?
The character name?
Or was it Sophie? Sophie's character not be the focal point in all the memories, because they are her looking back on them. And the whole film, I was kind of like, we're very leaning toward him always being on like the center focus. I was like, I wonder like what this choice is, or if they just had more footage of him. And the fact that they said it was a pointed choice to make sure that the focus of her memories were on him, I loved it. I loved that.
I also loved his description of color and the use of color with the color wheel, that he's like, it was just something that sort of came to be, and then he would do it in specific ways, that he would like set a shot, or the wardrobe that a certain performer would be wearing, or a certain lighting technique. So that was something that stood out to me. Was there any technical aspects, Vinny, that like stood out to you in particular that you wanted to comment on?
Yeah, one of my favorite elements, which he then said was not intentional, but the blocking, right?
The window or the mirrors.
Yeah, so the bathroom scene with the mirrors, I thought that was incredible.
Yeah,
blocking.
I agree.
He said that was not intentional, but I'm gonna say it was intentional, because the fact that, like, the way I interpreted it was, in that scene, the camera is still, doesn't move, and yet with the use of two mirrors in the space, we can see the characters move in a very, almost like in more than 3 dimensions. And on top of that, my interpretation of the scene was that neither of them are really seeing each other for who they really are in that scene, as it's a scene of conflict. So what we're because of the mirrors, Amethyst and Franklin are looking away from each other because of the mirrors. In geographical space, they are looking obviously at each other, but where the camera is positioned, we see her looking off to the right of frame while Franklin is looking off to the left of frame. That was my way of interpreting it, is like, wow, this is so clever. It's like they're not truly seeing eye to eye with each other, in this moment, and we see that through the visuals. But even the blocking of the other scenes, just really beautiful looking film for, you know, such a, you know, people need to see more indies. And I just thought there's so much attention to detail in almost every frame.
Absolutely. And a perfect time to shout out Indie Street once again for being able to give these films a platform. Also, the Hudson Phillips on the script, I thought there was so much room for so many different things to be executed well in this script. And I think it led to great performances from the performers as well. So that was Guacamole Yesterdays. We're going to have a conversation with the writer and the director in the future, as well as some of the lead actors coming up, but it's going to be released digitally in November, and we'll give you guys more details on that when we are privy to it. The last film that I unfortunately was not able to attend, but Liz and Vinny did, so I'm going to give the floor to them, was a narrative feature called Booger. So Liz, tell me about Booger.
Booger, out of what I saw, was my favorite feature from the festival. Booger is a body horror comedy, is what they call it. And the story is that Anna's roommate, Izzy, passes away. And then she gets bitten by a cat. And then the whole story just unfolds from there. And pretty much you're watching her go through grief and an extraordinarily grotesque way that it can manifest both mentally and physically inside of somebody if you don't deal with your grief. Is how I would explain it without totally ruining the story.
Okay.
I loved it. I was super grossed out and nauseous at certain times. The way that they did some of the like body changes, it's just wild and very creative, and honestly very also funny at times to think that like this is like happening to somebody, but also like it's not happening. It's just wild. I do recommend people should watch it if you're able to stomach a little bit of kind of on the grosser side of things, and not super like bloody, just more of it's body horror, like contortion and changing. But Vinny, what did you think about it?
Yeah, you put it best. Like, it is, I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was my favorite of the festival, but it was very funny. And the mix between this body horror and humor went surprisingly very well together. And honestly had some of my favorite moments of humor that I've seen in the whole festival. I also want to shout out the main actress, Grace Glowicki, does a great job, like you mentioned, Liz, portraying the physical and mental changes that her character is going through. There's also some really cool visuals at moments. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a visual of like everything around her is hair. They play with hair a lot in this film, actually. And it's really kind of icky, but in the most awesome way possible. I think Booger was just a lot of fun, and its commentary on grief is, you know, that's what I love about horror, is that like horror, you can really play into the messaging in such a heavy-handed way, I think, but in a way that is tasteful. And it sounds weird because when you think of a body horror film, you don't think tasteful, you know? But yeah.
Interesting. It sounds crazy.
It honestly, it was crazier than I thought it was going to be. And I think it also just speaks to film festivals in general. Like, this for me is a film festival film where it's kind of an idea that somebody, almost like I feel like it was a dream, and then they were like, this is kind of good. Let's turn this into something. And it might not be everybody's taste, but I mean, I'm already a big like horror fan, so this I could go on the ride for. Okay. But there were moments where I was just like, oh my God, that's disgusting. Like, I don't want to be watching this right now.
I'm like nervous to see it now. I do want to check it out.
If you have like a bit of like a gag reflex, maybe don't watch it.
Oh my God. This is crazy. No, I've heard very good things. It won the award for Best Narrative Feature at the festival. An hour and 18 minutes. So Liz, right up your alley.
It was beautiful. I loved it.
Oh my God. No, but I do want to check this one out. And this one is releasing in just a few weeks.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if it's just going to be limited to like New York or
I
LA
think it's
release.
just New York theaters.
But maybe it will be coming to digital shortly after that. Mary Dauterman wrote and directed it. Any words on the script or direction from either of you guys?
Script wise, I thought it was very tight. We weren't really having a lot of repetition. I think that she did a great job of letting the audience in on it before the character was in on it, in the beginning at least, and then at the end you were just on the ride with the character. And then shout out, it was Mary's cat who started the entire storyline.
Really?
Yeah. Cat's named Bobby Stewart.
Yes.
What a great cat name.
And the one actress who was there, what was her name? She plays the friend Izzy who passes away.
Sophia Dobrushin.
Yes. She says that the cat deserves an Oscar. So
there you go.
There you go.
It's like the dog in Anatomy of a Fall, right, Liz?
Oh yeah.
Same vibe.
I mean,
not same vibe, but
definitely different movies. But give them all an Oscar.
Give them all an Oscar. I mean, again, the animals obviously stood out. Like again, puppy love. The dog was obviously such a major pulling point, but. That was what we got to check out this year at Indie Street. It was Vinny's first experience at the festival. Did you want to speak on it really quick?
Yeah, I'm very grateful, honestly. Thank you for the opportunity of allowing me to join you guys. Because this, honestly, I want to hype up Indie Street. Because I've been to so many film festivals, but their selections of films was incredible. Now, they also have the benefit of being an international festival, having films from around the globe but being accepted here. But it is still such an incredible selection of films, and I think that Indie Street should be praised for the fact of like how they went around their selection and their structuring as well of these films. It was a great experience. I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah. So. Well, we loved the festival last year. We loved the festival this year. We wish we were able to cover more films this year. Last year we were there like every single day, I think, but unfortunately we're down a couple people from the crew, but we were there to cover a lot of it. And we had a great time. Shout out again to Jay Webb for giving us the exposure and allowing us to cover the festival and be able to highlight some of these lesser known films and continue to maybe give them an elevated push going forward with the filmmakers and with the performers and the stories that we got to sort of check out here at Indie Street. Was there anything else you had, Liz?
No, we just love you guys.
Love you guys, Indie Street. No, but thank you guys for checking this out. If you guys want, I'm going to be listing links to some of the websites and some of the social media handles for some of these films below in the description. So be sure to check that out and keep your eyes peeled for a lot of other conversations we have with some of these performers going forward in the fall. It's going to be a very exciting time for the channel upcoming. We got a lot of things that we're going to be working on. We're hoping again to be covering the Montclair Film Festival this year later in Montclair, New Jersey. We got a chance last year to do that. So we're hoping we're given the chance again this year to check out some more feature films as well as highlight other artists in New Jersey and around the globe in arts and entertainment. So please join us for that. You guys can subscribe to us on all the social media platforms that'll be below me in the description, all that stuff. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I mean, again, subscribe to us here on YouTube if you can, like this video, and comment your thoughts. If you were at Indie Street Film Festival, please comment your thoughts on some of your favorite films, some of your favorite performances, some of your favorite directors, experiences that you guys have had at the festival this year. We'd love to talk about them and pass them along to Jay as well. But that is going to be it for our coverage for Indie Street here in this video. Signing off, I am Darian Scalamoni.
I am Liz Seiko.
I'm Vinny Albano.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.